everybody. You know, when you build up a video game collection like I have, it can be hard to keep up with everything that you want to play. Because of this, my backlog is always a mile long, especially when it comes to games that other people have requested that I play. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to play some of the games that people won't shut up about. It should be fun. Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals is a Super Nintendo JRPG by Natsumi. This game is actually a prequel and takes place before the events leading up to Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. In fact, the final battle in Lufia 2 is included as the intro to the original. This is a game that I've been harassed to no end by a certain coworker for not having played it. So, here's Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. The story starts with... What? Okay, fine, Lufia 2. You start off as a young man that hunts monsters for a living. For some reason, monsters invaded the cave to the north and locked the exit to the other side, blocking you and your town off from the rest of the world. Upon getting the key back, a strange girl shows up and tells you that this is just the beginning of what will be a full-on attack of the human race, and that you, with the help of others you have yet to meet, are destined to rise up and save the world from evil. With that, you're off on your adventure. The graphics are quite colorful, and though not the most detailed on the system, are quite appealing to the eyes. The music is good too, with some fun bassy themes. As you go on through your journey, you do the normal RPG stuff like grind for experience and gold to get better weapons and armor, move on to the next area, and do it again. What sets this game apart from the rest, however, are the dungeons. The dungeons are full of puzzles and enemies, which you can now see before you engage them, similar to games like Earthbound or Chrono Trigger. The enemies will move around as you do, and you can choose to fight them or to stun them with an arrow so you can run past. You can also pick up bottles and move pillars to activate switches, cut bushes down with your sword, and more. As the game progresses, it presents additional puzzle elements and corresponding dungeon skills to solve them. Some of these can be quite challenging, but provide a sense of accomplishment when you finally figure them out. For example, this puzzle can kiss my ass. The difficulty of the game seems pretty balanced overall, despite some of the puzzles. The overworld battles do seem to happen quite frequently, but that can be really handy when you're trying to grind out a few levels. Overall, I like this game a good bit more than the first one, and capturing the footage for this episode makes me want to finish playing through it. I feel like if I would have tried this game back when it was new, I would have loved it. The one, the only Shovel Knight. This game is awesome. I've had it for a while and played it, but hadn't really gotten around to finishing it. It's available on about every platform, but I'm playing the Wii U version here. Everyone under the sun has suggested this one to, well, everyone else under the sun, and it's easy to see why. The countryside was once carefree, that is, until a band of evil knights known as the Quarter of No Order, commanded by the evil enchantress, take the land for themselves, standing unopposed. That's where Shovel Knight comes in. He's strong, brave, and wields a mighty shovel. He wields a shovel. But it's a badass shovel that can be used to smack the crap out of bad guys. You can also pogo on enemies and hazards like Scrooge McDuck and DuckTales. There's plenty of other inspiration from other classic games that can be found here as well, like the variety of sub-weapons that can aid you in your quest much like in Castlevania, the Super Mario Bros. 3 style map screen complete with wandering enemies, and you can't play for more than 10 minutes and tell me that the level design doesn't scream Mega Man. Despite how much is in here that harkens back to these classic games, Yacht Club Games did an excellent job in creating an experience that stands on its own in its originality, regardless how familiar it all feels. The retrofitted pixel art style is beautiful and makes fantastic use of color. The character design is top-notch and each character has their own distinct personality, complete with very entertaining dialogue. The controls are super tight and the challenge is just right. The best part of this game to me though, which honestly in comparing Fantastic Thing to Fantastic Thing, it's kinda hard to claim any one particular thing being better than the rest, but oh my god, the music! The soundtrack of this game is so fucking good. It easily stands up there with some of the best soundtracks. I don't mean to gush, but it's so good. This game was funded on Kickstarter and is a shining example of how to successfully crowdfund a game. Last year, Yacht Club released the Plague of Shadows campaign, which allows you to play through the game as Plague Knight with altered levels for its playstyle. Similar add-on content is currently in development for Spectre Knight and King Knight as well. Bravo, Yacht Club. Bravo. Glover for the Nintendo 64 is always one that looked neat, but I never got a chance to try out. A friend of mine has been pretty adamant about me playing it, giving me loads of grief in the process about it. Let's just call her Alice. Okay, Alice, this one's for you. A wizard mixes some potions together and ends up knocking himself out, sending one of his gloves out the window and the other into the concoction. As this happens, the crystals that hold the world's balance together are ejected from the castle. Using some quick thinking, you turn them into balls so they don't break on impact. You play as Glover, naturally, as you attempt to gather the ball crystals to restore the balance, all the while dealing with the meddlesome Stitchface, who gained dark magic in his mutation and now uses it to conjure up baddies for you to fight. All the standard 3D platformer ingredients are here: colorful areas, enemies, collectibles, and such. And Glover makes a cute companion to traverse the world with. But not all is right with this game, as there's one major issue that brings everything down. I'll get to that in a minute. Glover features a hub world that you use to get to the different areas. Each level plays out about the same. You'll play through a stage with puzzles and switches, eventually opening the exit. Do this for about 3 stages and you'll fight a boss. After that, it's back to the castle with you and off to another stage. The music in this game is basic, and the graphics aren't anything special either. Overall, this game would be relatively non-offensive if it wasn't for the crippled controls. Glover's main issue is that it's just too damn ambitious for its own good in the control department. On paper, it sounds like a great idea to have varied control schemes for the character based on whether he's holding the ball or not, but when applied, you have a mess that your muscle memory just can't keep up with. To be fair, after playing the game for a while, you adapt somewhat, but even then it feels like you're just constantly fumbling through the game. Some people may like it, but this one's just not for me. This is Crystallis? Whatever. Crystallis is an action RPG for the NES. In 1997, the End Day occurred where the axis of the Earth was shifted, causing all the creatures to mutate. Man, that's rough. Good thing it's all in the past now! Some of the survivors built a tower in the sky so that they could forever oppress evil and hopefully prevent this sort of thing from happening again. 100 years later, everyone's scared of what might happen if evil should emerge, and then BAM! You awake. Mr. Hero Guy in the hot pink. You promptly get a sword and start stabbing things for money so you can buy armor. And that's how the game goes. Like a lot of other RPGs, you kill a bunch of stuff, get money and experience, and use the money to buy better armor. The monsters are pretty standard here. There's slimes, tigers, and bugs. You'll kill a lot of these early on, so get used to them. You have a normal stab attack, but you can also hold the B button and release it to shoot a long-range ball of energy. As you progress, you'll help people with things here and there and learn some magic too, like this upgraded charge shot that lets you break down certain walls so you can progress further. In typical RPG fashion, you really need to talk to everyone, as sometimes even if you've already talked to someone before, you'll need to come back after something else has happened to trigger another event. I didn't encounter anything too terribly cryptic, but just make sure you're paying attention or you might miss something. The graphics and music aren't anything special, but they work well enough for the game. The boss monsters are pretty cool looking, like this giant bug. I will eat your soul! All in all, I'd say this game is alright. There doesn't seem to be much wow factor here for me, but it does seem fun. I'm sure that the story gets richer as you go along, and I might come back to this one at some point, but I think the 2 hours I put into it for this video is long enough for now. Metroid 2: Return of Samus takes place right after the original and right before Super Metroid. This time around, Samus travels to the Metroid homeworld of SR-71, I mean SR-388. The game has a standard Metroid feel and doesn't stray away from the series too much, but there are some things that make this one unique. First off, it's a direct Game Boy sequel of an NES game, which you don't see very often to begin with. Second, you begin the game equipped with missiles and the Morph Ball power-up right out the gate, which is good because the missiles are the only thing that can damage Alpha Metroids, which are a variant of the Metroids from the first game. You see, in this installment, Samus seeks to eradicate the Metroids for good. We all know that didn't exactly pan out the way she planned, but that's okay. There's a counter on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen that displays how many Metroids remain. The Alpha Metroids I mentioned are the basic ones, and they'll just fly into you dealing damage. But then there's other stronger Metroid species you'll fight as well, like the Gamma Metroids that shoot you with a short-range lightning attack. During her travels, Samus will pick up the standard power-ups familiar to the other games in the franchise. The Bomb, Ice Beam, Energy Tanks, Missile Upgrades, etc. New to this game, however, is the first appearance of the Spider Ball power-up, which allows you to stick to walls and ceilings when in the Morph Ball, something that wouldn't show up again until Metroid Prime. I've been recommended this one as it's the only 2D Metroid game that I haven't beaten, or even really played much. After putting some time into it, I can see the appeal, but at the same time, I just can't get into it. It definitely feels like the awkward middle point between Metroid and Super Metroid, and comes off as underwhelming by comparison. Not that it's a bad game by any stretch, but I feel like with some better music, caverns that didn't seem so empty or unfinished, and the inclusion of a map, I might be more inclined to sink more time into this one. It's alright, but in my opinion it could have been better. Well, there you go, guys. Just a handful of games that people have requested that I cover. Are there any other games that I didn't talk about here that you want to hear my thoughts on? If so, throw them in the comments. And maybe I'll revisit this topic again. Until then, I'm D-Pad Danny. Have a good one. Hey, thanks so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. If you're looking for something else to watch, might I suggest this video I did on weird games? Or maybe my review of Yoshi's Safari for the Super Nintendo. If you want to keep up with the latest from me, feel free to follow me on Twitter or check out my Twitch channel for gameplay shenanigans.